In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God's first encounter with man was messy. Mud was on his hands after he formed us from the dust of the ground. Dirt was on his lips after he pressed his face against the clay and kissed us. Life began when God chose to get messy and kiss dust. The first verse of Genesis, the first piece of our story according to the Holy Bible, the first line in this holy ancient book is not passive, it's active, and it is an act of creation. As human beings, we find ourselves a part of this ancient act. We are the created, but how do we respond? If we are supposedly created in the image of this God, as Genesis states, and we are to be like this God, creation, it would seem, is vital. Yet how do we create? In the words of Aaron Gravett, creativity isn't exclusive to a group of certain elite people. It is an incredible gift and a right from God for all of humanity. It is for us. It is for you. Where do we begin with this creativity? Why not begin in God's temple? The church is transformed from generation to generation. But it is the same in the mission to learn and grow in both spiritual life and in relationships with others. The arts being offered within the church is one way that growth can happen, and one way that we can walk in our inheritance as supposed sons and daughters of God. The availability of new programming and arts within contemporary churches everywhere nowadays is changing the surface of how we practice our faith. So why not tell the story from my own experiences and at my own church? So I did. Last summer, I made the trip to Concord First Assembly, a church in Concord, North Carolina. At CFA, I worked in their media and arts departments, getting hands-on experience in everything from constructing sets and running auditions for musicals to designing t-shirts and logos. However, one of the biggest aspects of my internship was working with the program SMAC. SMAC, or Summer Musical Arts Camp for Kids, is a 2-week day camp, directed and led by some of the most talented individuals in the industry. It is a community camp open to Concord and surrounding areas. In working with SMAC, I was part of the SWAT team, which stands for Students with Arts and Technology. We designed the set for the show, built large-scale pieces, and more. I sat down with Luke Motley, a fellow SWAT team member and highly involved individual at CFA Church, to talk about the importance of the program and his own personal feelings about creativity in the church.
The community dynamic, I think that's very different in like a church setting as opposed to a secular, because really like in a secular, more of a secular basis, you're kind of on the playing field of, I'm basing, what I am off of my talents. how good I am, how good I can sing, how good I can act, I can dance. As I grew up, we had more things pop up like SMAC, for instance, which is a summer musical arts camp for kids, and we. As the church started doing that, I became more involved in it, but it wasn't so much based around church like a kids choir would be. It was more based around the community and how we could bring people into the community, not just the actors and actresses, but the parents, the family, the friends that would come and watch, and that created a huge outlet for us. In SMAC, there's a subdivision called SWAD, which is the Students Working with Arts and Technology. And while the rest of the team is working with the kids, learning the choreography and all that stuff, we are painting the sets. We're building the props that we're going to use, the giant set pieces that we use. For instance, one year we created a dragon for the musical Shrek, and it was great. And other times I had to be put into a costume and I was a giraffe for The Lion King. So all of those background things, those have great significance because they help the typical student kind of feel more immersed in the world, because whenever they walk in one day and then the entire set is just completely made and it's painted and they're hills in the background and there are trees, all of those things, those really show not just that they're in an atmosphere that they can see that people care about the things that they're doing. And I think that's really cool. And as that progressed, I went from being a kid, working in the camp to a young adult, actually being part of the team that led the group, and then going farther to be kind of more of in a leadership role. Those kind of all amalgamated into me eventually becoming part of the choir at my church, it becoming part of our front ensemble, and for a while I'd known that I wanted to do music, and now I'm studying music. All of those things just kind of have all kind of directed towards what I am now. Spiritually, I would say that being able to minister, using your art as a ministry, I think that's super powerful. It gives a lot of meaning behind what you're doing. You're not just doing it for yourself. You're not doing it so that you can get better, but you're doing it so that someone out in the audience, they might hear what you're saying or see what you're doing or drawing and feel a connection to God because of that. They can tell that you are ministering to them in some way. Personally, it makes you way more responsible. It definitely, sometimes I would say that it forces you to work harder, because a lot, we don't like to think of arts as a hard working, something that you work hard for, but it is. It's not a feel all the time sort of thing. Sometimes you're working till 2 a.m. and practicing this song because you have to memorize it. It kind of pulls those attributes from you that you need.
Programs like SMAC at CFA Church are offered through the church's community arts program called In Tune School of the Arts. In Tune School of the Arts offers a variety of artistic and creative lessons, including voice, drums, piano, dance, and more. In Tune also puts on several large productions, including a Christmas show. Members of the surrounding communities all come together to audition, practice, and ultimately execute a high-quality production with excellence. In Tune is yet another way for the community to get involved in the arts while being offered at a church. To discuss the importance of In Tune and the opportunities it gives, I spoke with Kinsey Malls, a singer currently touring across the world with a gospel and performing group.
I would say I'm a singer, definitely, because I tried theater, I tried art, I tried photography, and I enjoyed all those things, but singing was always the constant thing, and I feel like it's my strongest suit, like it's my strongest gift that I have. I would never have been confident in saying that if it wasn't for all the experience that I had and all the stage time and performance time that I had through CFA. I took piano lessons for a few years there when I was younger, and then I took vocal lessons for a couple years as well. I did that from about 1st grade to about 7th grade, so musical theater and doing theater in my school as well, which was also a church. So pretty much every single art form that I did took place in a church. It made it like so consistent, and the people were consistent too. So going to church and going to school with the same people that I'm doing theater with was really cool. It really secured friendships that I had. If it hadn't been offered through my church, I definitely wouldn't have been a part of theater or musical theater, because the theater program at my public school I didn't really have much of an interest in, and so if it wasn't for the programs that I did through the church, that wouldn't have been such a huge part of my life. I've always been singing my whole life, so on my social media I've always posted videos and stuff like that. There's a gospel artist named Eddie James who came and visited my church, and he brought a group of people with him, and I just loved what they did, and I loved his heart for people. But I kind of loved it from afar, because I didn't talk to any of them, I didn't meet any of them until a few months later. Dante Bowe, he had been a part of Eddie's ministry for a few years, and he came to my church and became the worship pastor there. We connected on social media, and he saw my singing videos, and that's how, and my performance videos. He sent my videos out to people that are in the ministry. That's how I got the position that I have now, on the road, singing, touring. I've come to realize more and more as I get older, the calling that God has on my life, and singing and speaking are huge parts of it. I don't know if I would have recognized that or been equipped to step into that as soon as I have, if it wasn't for having all this experience with singing and public speaking and just being in front of people. Has equipped me, without me even knowing it, to walk in what God has for me and what He's called me to do.
Many view creativity in the arts within the context of performance, or classical arts such as drawing or painting. However, in the modern age, there are new ways to express creativity that are only just being discovered. I had the opportunity to work with the story department at CFA. They specialize in telling the story of different ministries through design, film, and other digital arts. As an aspiring graphic designer, it was a privilege to see how this form of creativity was not only used effectively, but was used for a purpose that I believe so strongly in. In considering this form of expression, Mackenzie Burke, a member of the story department, shared with me about her journey to not only becoming a designer, but becoming a creative at heart.
I would say that I'm a designer. I've done a lot of creating and designing things. I don't know if I've achieved or given anything, but I've definitely designed a lot of things. So the funny part about this is I never thought that I was a creative. When I was younger, everyone told me that I was left-brained and that I would never be creative. So personally, it's a really exciting place for me, and it's a new place that I'm continuing to learn about and explore, because I don't always see myself as a creative, and spiritually I'm learning so much with the Lord and having such deep revelation of what it means to be a creative. And so when I'm designing something, it's kind of this place with the Lord that thought I would never be. I never thought I would be a creative. I never thought that I could design something and people like it, or it, get used in this way. When I'm designing things, there's a lot of, I would say, monologue that goes on in my head, how this could affect someone depending on how you design it, and what can they see about the Lord in this design. I've work in the creative department, known as the story department at my church, and if I had not done fine arts and been in a situation that gave me the opportunity to create things and people see that, then I would be in a totally different place today. I went to a Church of God, and there it was the classic children's choir, children's drama team, Easter, Christmas presentation sort of thing. So I was kind of in all of those. And as I got older, we had fine arts, and all my friends did it and they talked about it, and I saw dramas and human videos and choir and vocal ensembles, and so it sparked my interest. Fine arts is a program where it's for middle and high school students, and it's to help people develop their art gifts and talents, singing, photography, spoken words, all those types of things, to develop them and then to learn how to use them. Then it helps people use those as a trajectory in how to go into the world and use the arts to glorify the Lord and bridge arts and the world together to bring glory to God and to help kind of minister in a new, exciting way. I did a lot of photography. I learned a lot. I learned a good skill, and I loved it, and how to create an emotion for someone, or to create something that brought someone to a new place. I loved learning how to do that. And dance is the same way. It changed my life in a lot of ways. I went from being a very planned out, not that it's a bad thing, but I went from being very planned out and thinking that I was going to go into a certain realm of the world. And by going into fine arts and opening myself to new expressions of who I was and allowing the Lord to unlock those places in me that I didn't even know existed in some ways, has totally changed the way I look at my life. Because I now see that I'm a creative and I can be artsy, and I don't have to look a certain part or do a certain thing. Like, the Lord just wants me to be creative in my own expression of what that is. I think that so often we see God in so many other aspects of who He is. We see Him as a jealous God. We see Him as an organized God, or some people even have, a controlling God, or all these things. But I think in reality, God is a creative God. He created the earth. He has such an incredible eye and mind, and He gave us those same traits. That same nature is within us, and there needs to be a bridge gap between the arts and the world, because God wants us to use that to continue to inspire His people into a deeper revelation of Him, which includes learning creativity and the arts.
Biblically speaking, the two things that supposedly happened at the beginning of time were an act of creation and an act of communication. In Genesis 1, God created one man. But in Genesis 2, God said, "It is not good for the man to be alone." My experience at CFA encompassed and further extended my ideas of why the arts are important in the church. But more than anything, it showed me what the arts needs: community. After all, isn't that what church is? Church is not a building, but a people, an extension of a family of believers in Christ. Family supports one another, encourages, and inspires. Why offer the arts within the church? There are many reasons, as evidenced in my journey. I believe it's a calling that extends beyond the walls of a chapel and beyond every steeple. It is a calling not only to every church, but to every unified area of common belief. Creativity is an inheritance. It is a gift. It is for all of us. It is for you.